We're good. All right. What do we have as the agenda to kind of review our sort of action items that we were supposed to do last time and build on those and get ready to present back to the meeting. So I know Sherry, you sent something out. I had, what did I do?
If you let me share screen, I can bring it up. I actually have it.
Sure.
Sure.
Is that the first thing we want to cover? So we've got.
Well, it's an action item. You know, if you want to, it's the work that I did up to now. I will tell you that there is an overwhelming amount of information online about commemorations and holidays, and some of it's pretty confusing because especially like religious holidays have different names, and I had to go and research to see which was which. And I don't know for sure, like I'm going to have to speak to perhaps Maureen to find out what are the most important Muslim holidays besides Eid and Ramadan, except Ramadan moves. It comes at different times every year.
Right.
And so, and there's a whole lot of other, like I would not personally know, other than Christmas and Easter, Good Friday, what are really important Christian holidays. I know what the important, I sort of know what the important, I'm Jewish, but I don't really, I'm not very observant, obviously. So I only know the major ones. So I didn't know, and I was looking for a Buddhist one and I found a Buddhist one. I was looking for some other things, but I had the greatest problem doing that. The other thing is, some of the websites I'm going to have to go back. I put hot links. They have commemoration days, but that day is not exactly the same every single year. So I have to go back and say, instead of saying like January 7th, I have to say the first Thursday or the first Tuesday, the second Tuesday in January. And I did that with some of it. So I have to clean it up. But boy, there is so much. And I tried to categorize it using the categories I saw on the websites online. So so I can share that anytime you want, but that's my brief report.
Do I have to give you permission to share, or can you just share?
I don't know if you want to do that.
I took a look and it looks great. I think, you know, from the perspective of after the meeting, I know one of the things we wanted to talk about was the ability to use Google Drive and things like that. This could be one of those things where you've created such a great baseline that if we can all at some point share a calendar, people can go in and move things or put notes in and things like that. Yeah.
And everybody,
it's a great
has
start.
Excel, so that's why I put it in Excel. So common. And that was really my intention, was to have a baseline document. But like I said, there ended up being. Are you going to allow me to share yet?
Oh, I thought. Okay.
You still disabled participant screen sharing.
Well, I didn't do anything. It's just default.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let me see. How do I?
You might not be able to if you.
Well, if she's the host, she should.
I can make you a co-host. But I make you a co-host. Does that let you?
Oh, but you can enable sharing.
I know it didn't. I didn't have the option to enable sharing. No, it didn't give. That wasn't one of the choices. So I just made you a co-host, though.
Okay.
Does that give it to you?
Sure. Wait, I think you can. Wait a second. Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the first sites I went to, and some of the holidays were different from different countries, so I didn't put them in there. But one of them arrange them by causes, cultural, national, federal, and then religious. So I use those 4 buckets. I don't know if you think those are the most appropriate, and do we need an extra bucket like miscellaneous? I mean, there were so many miscellaneous ones. There was one I almost put in there just to see if you noticed it, and it was National Short Girls Day.
Oh.
And I'm 5'2".
Well, there's like National Kiss a Ginger Day too. So
right, that's right.
right.
So those are kind of silly ones.
Those are important ones, right?
I tried to put in ones that were in some way related to our mission. Right. So things that had to do with human rights, with labor, with equality. And I put in things like, when they gave you the description for something like Veterans Day, if you click on it, it says more than just honor the veterans. So I put that kind of stuff in, and there was stuff I'd never heard of Constitution Day before. You know, Most places still had Columbus Day, but I put that in as, it should be Columbus Day, but we do it culturally under Indigenous People Day.
Right.
Yeah. And this, I think the cultural ones were the ones we were most interested in getting more of a handle on, so that we could honor different cultures. And these
Right.
are just two websites I have to go back to. There was just so much.
Okay.
But I found,
Yeah.
Irish American, Greek American, and look at all the ones that are in March.
Yeah.
There.
But well,
Yeah.
that's important though too, because the town celebrates. They have their Italian festival every summer, so there's
Right.
overlap there.
Yeah, I did not find an Italian American Day because generally in the past that has been Columbus Day. And now that Columbus Day has somewhat been discredited by a lot of organizations, people want to call it Indigenous People Day. And then I found out that
Well, in our towns, that's usually in August, I think, that they do it. So that wouldn't even align though with that day. So
but I didn't find an Italian American Day otherwise.
interesting.
What I did find was Thanksgiving is also called a holiday called the Day of Mourning.
Yeah. I knew that.
I didn't know that before.
Yeah. I
So
think
I
we posted about it on our Facebook page. Not this last Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving before, I researched a post for that. Yeah.
And it just there's very interesting stuff. Now, the only thing I found, I mean, there's a whole lot of, if you ever watch Confucius Was a Foodie on PBS, you will find that there is a holiday in every single month of the Chinese calendar, and they're all tied to food and some sort of recognition of powers or gods. But I didn't really know, and this is where I feel like I need to reach out to people who have that kind of background to find out what really is the important one. I mean, Chinese New Year, everybody knows about it, but there's so many others, and so that's the only one I put in.
Lunar New Year, is that the same?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like Lunar New Year is a little more, is that more inclusive of several Asian heritages that celebrate that versus just Chinese? I don't know.
Well, I can, on here, you can see it's the Chinese calendar. It's totally,
right.
So I'm going to make a note to myself, change Chinese to.
Oh, I mean, that's like getting into the weeds, but yeah.
I'll put both of them in because
Yeah.
I would like to be culturally inclusive. But like I said, I didn't find an Italian American one. I found Asian Pacific, Jewish, Hispanic.
Right. And Hispanic Heritage Month is the weird one. Well, not,
yeah.
It spans more than 1 month. It's a month, but
Right.
it's like half and half. Yeah.
Right. And I put that in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, see, I was trying to find, this one is Buddha. I'm sorry, that's Hindu. That one Hindu or Buddhist? I should have written myself a note, but I have a hot link, so I'll be able to figure that out. Oddly, I didn't find any religious holidays in January. Not yet, anyway. Yeah, that one is Buddhist. Diwali is Hindu.
Hindu, right.
And like I said, these are the two Islamic ones I found out, but they change, they move around, and it's different months, different times. You know what? I got to check that phone just in case, because my husband's at the dentist.
It might be something to think about, to put on the agenda for at some point. I mean, I know my term's up in April, but.
Sorry, that was another robocall.
Of course, they're the best at that, right around dinner time.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, this is a start. There's so much else. I mean, then of course now we have a national holiday for Juneteenth. I had forgotten that there is a Harvey Milk Day. There is an actual Internet Holocaust Remembrance Day in January. National Freedom Day. These are things that I had never seen before, that I found very interesting. So I put them all in there. I figured I could, but there's more. There's way more. I just ran out of time one night and my vision got blurry and I couldn't do it anymore.
Jim, what were you going to say? Sorry.
So it might be, and I don't know what the process for this is. I know it's something that we've been talking about separately on the visionary committee for Wakefield. That whole thing is revolving around a survey, and where so many people, like I said, the awareness on the WHRC is lower than probably we would like. maybe it's something at some point, and I don't know what procedures it has to go through, but that could be a really short, good survey or something, or a form or something like that at some point, where we invite people to tell us about holidays we might not know about, or celebrations, or
Mm.
important days, or something like that. And that might make the community feel a little, like we might not know of an Italian American celebration day, but I bet the guys down that gather at the lake, that small group of guys might have something. So there might be information in the community itself that I don't know what the format is, or if it's a Q&A or something like that. But, that could be something where we say, hey, listen, we don't, we can't know everything, but we'd like to hear about what's important to you.
Mm.
That would, I think, be a really great, actually, doing something interactive like that, like these mini survey things, singular questions every month or couple of months to get community input would be a great way of raising visibility. We don't have a survey tool. That's the only thing. A survey tool would be a Survey Monkey, or if we had Constant
Right.
Contact or something like that, but we don't, and Facebook doesn't have a survey tool, as far as I know, our Facebook page.
No, they have a poll, but that's not necessarily the same thing. Through Suffolk, I know we have Qualtrics and things like that. So, again, it's just something to think about. We're talking about making this more inclusive. So it would be, if there was a way that we could invite, and maybe it's just a form or something like that, where anybody at any point can kind of go in and suggest an event or a date or an idea. We'd have to figure out what the logistics are, but opening up that conversation might uncover a number of things that are important to people that we don't know about.
Yeah, and I'd certainly like to know more about this as well. And it would be so much easier if somebody else was helping to add to this rather than my looking at every one of those websites.
Well, and then we're involving people,
Yes.
these are members of the community. Tell us about this event. Tell us about, what it means, and why it's important. And are there things that people can do? Maybe kind of engaging that part of it and inviting people to tell us about them. Again, it just kind of goes with everything that we're built around, inclusion and and listening and learning and all of that stuff.
I like it. And of course, I've taken notes as usual, so I'll prepare minutes like the last time.
I appreciate that, because I am a non-note taker, and even if I took them, we wouldn't be able to read them after or anything like that.
Yeah. I take notes because my memory is not that good, and if I write it down, that's how I remember things. Because if I do two things, listen, speak, well, three things, speak about it and write it down, then I'll remember. That's how I became a good student too. Anyhow, so that's my piece of it. And I think that an outgrowth of that, a wonderful outgrowth to summarize, would be if we could involve the community in the conversation about what are special days important to them and how are they commemorated. So we can see the full diversity of our community. And we
suggest.
Yes.
Sorry. No, just as I was looking at this, and I've got it up, to me, the toggling between the I think this was helpful as like a first place to say, let me focus on the national things and put them all in, is if we could somehow consolidate it on even in 4 columns. And I was just taking a stab at doing that. So, but have the month, the day, and then if it's a commemoration, it goes in column 1. If it's a cultural, it goes in another one. But that way we could see it all in one view.
If we get the permission to do Google calendars, we can color code them.
There you go.
Yeah. And actually, the only reason I did it this way, it was easier to record them this way. I started out with one
totally
sheet.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But it would not be difficult to consolidate, and instead of saying commemoration here, I would say commemoration of causes. And here would be the ones that say cultural commemorations, national commemoration, religious. And we would just go across for each month. And it can be consolidated into one sheet.
And a
Yeah, and
beautiful
that's just
calendar.
perfect. Yeah, yeah. And then I think that's a good segue because I have the annual calendar of our events that we could maybe even layer on that too, sort of like internal events and then commemorations and things like that. So if you want, I can share what I started to pull together.
Okay.
So
Let me take this down.
sure.
I got to get back in here to stop share. Wait, how do I get
No,
back
I
in
think
here?
I could just, oh yeah, I can just take over.
Okay. I was going to say stop. I was just going to click
yeah.
on stop share if I can get back there, but it doesn't want to let
let's
me
see.
back there for some
Share
reason. Oh, come on.
Let me share my
I'll just close
my
this.
window.
It's the only way I'm going to be.
It's all
Oh,
right.
here it is. It's right at the top. Okay, here we go.
It's all right. I got it.
Okay.
So what can you see? Can you see
I can
this
see
Word
I can
doc?
see the annual calendar. Right. This is
So
our annual calendar.
this is, yes. So this is the Wakefield. So this is like what I pulled. So Maria had actually done some legwork because I think she's presenting at the town council meeting. So she had already kind of pulled like past events that we've done, more as like a history of our accomplishments. But I took that information and then tried to put it in sequential order. So, you know, in January, we typically have the MLK Day event. In February, you know, just we've had Black History Month book readings. March is our International Women's Day. I just added in sort of in parentheses here. We could do it in italics or something, but this is like typically when we get the new appointments and we vote for our officers. So that's like an internal thing, but just a placeholder. In the past, now we didn't do this with COVID this year, and so I don't think we're doing it this April, but Metco and Wakefield Public Schools typically does an international night that we've been part of. And that's where they bring in all like the students who are from other countries, and they do this really great, like, everyone makes food from their country of origin and they have big tables and you stamp, like that's clearly not COVID friendly. But that's a really cool event that we've had. So that's why I said like typical or planned, right? Like, so some of these like, well, pretty much all of these have happened in the past at some point. I don't know if we're planning this year. I assume we are, but so these are just sort of in a typical year, we might do something. Typically in the past, Wakefield 101 has been in May and November. So I put those in there. June, of course, we do the Pride Month events. This is also when Festival by the Lake is typically. I put the farmers market table in July, but it very like we could be doing that in September, you know, like that's just seasonal. Typically in August is when we have the Festival Italia, and I think we typically just put up a table and have a presence there. I put September, and this might not always be in September. Like actually this next month, I think, or March, Benny's helping, you know, we're doing the library partnership with the Connect with Your Community stuff, but in the past, we've typically had one in that early fall time frame with them, like the Hate You Give book discussion. And then I think we also did a speaker series on racism in 2017 or 18 before I joined. So that's kind of a typical thing. We typically have the U Church speaker series, and that might be in September, maybe October, November, but around that time of year is when we typically do that. I said the Indigenous Peoples book readings. This is also when, and I don't think they did it this last year, but the Mass Human Rights Coalition, which is the broader group of human rights groups across the town, has a convening. So we've attended that the last couple of years when they've had it. Again, I think that was canceled this year or 2020. And then in December, I couldn't really find anything that we typically do, but I know we have in the past supported the town menorah lighting, which is usually the same night as the tree lighting. So I don't know that's officially like on our thing, but that's just something that tends to that happens every year in December that we can kind of have on our radar. And then I just put like another list of ad hoc stuff, like, right, so we've got active bystander training. We actually did that or partnered with, I think when they did that a couple of years ago, that was on Maria's list. We've done discussions with the ADL. We've done dialogues on transgender rights. We've done some documentaries that we screened and had discussions with, and we've done other library partnerships that wasn't necessarily a book discussion, but other things. So that's what I came up with.
Okay.
Do you guys do the 4th of July parade? I mean, I know we didn't this year, but.
Yeah, I don't know that the HRC does, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't. I mean, we could put that in there.
It would be
maybe
to do a float would be a month.
Phenomenal.
No, but it would be a huge effort to get a float going.
Yeah.
Because I know what
We
just the
could do
friends
it.
have to go through. You have to get a lot of people to help you. Yeah, a lot. Plus, you got to find someone who has a flatbed. You know, so
I don't know
Wow.
if we've done it in the past, but that doesn't mean we can't like have it be a planned annual event.
Something
or
to think about, because if
Yeah.
if there's a 4th of July parade this year, it's going to be bigger and better than ever. So again, like the great, amazing list, and I think it's going to be fluid. It's
Right.
always
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
fluid.
And
Yeah,
these
it's
things can
always
Yes.
plug
going to be
in. And
fluid.
like I said, some of this stuff, obviously, we're not going to do all this stuff in 2021, but this is just sort of our
Baseline.
baseline, right? And stuff
Yep.
will be added and stuff will be taken away, but this is sort of maybe table stakes that we can kind of say, look ahead and say, do we want to plan this again? Are we going to participate? Is this even happening? If not, okay, cross it off for this year, but at least we have
Right.
it written down somewhere, because I don't think this existed before. So
having, you know, the parade float, I'm already thinking about that. It's just like, I was.
But we don't have to do a float. Like I think some businesses just have a banner, right? Like, so
Yep.
can we get a couple kids to like hold our, make a banner and,
Yeah,
and walk that down the
you
parade?
do pay for that to
Right.
participate. Yeah.
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 But I'm saying that's different than a float. Like, I don't think it has to be a float. It could be other ways that we could participate.
And look, I was just thinking with the float, it would be something like It's a Small World. And when you said International Day, and I was thinking you can involve students from that are in Wakefield that come
sorts
from
of
so many
things.
different countries and backgrounds, you know, and have
But
them.
we have something
on that-
we have a case to present when we find out whether or not there's going to be a parade.
I think
Yeah.
there's actually not, if I remember correctly,
No.
they did decide to postpone
They did.
the 2021, because then I think the 2022 one will be like the 100th year, or like it'll be even bigger.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty
Makes
sure they made
sense.
an announcement that they did decide to already.
I don't think we're going to be doing mass gatherings for a very long time, because even if they said it's okay, I think people like myself, I would be very nervous still, especially because I will wear a mask for a long time when others will not. And I mean, I see people without masks all the time, and it just really amazes me. But anyway, that's another topic. Okay.
But it presents
fourth-
a good
that's some
opportunity for
ideas.
us, right? Because one
Yes.
of the biggest challenges that I shouldn't say that, because I've only been a member for all 10 minutes, but major events are difficult when you have a committee where people work full time and all of that, like being able to hold events. But maybe this opens a door for us to be able to hold these virtual, whether it's Facebook Lives or talks or something, around some of these events that you guys, not only the ones that you're based in, but also the ones that you uncovered. This just opens like up more opportunity for us to provide
Yes.
content. And so what I started creating, and I apologize, I had to jump up from my laptop because it was loud in my house. I created like I created it on Google Sheets, but I can move it to Excel because I know we're not sure if we can use that. But bucketing those 4 kinds of events, and what I did was made like a table. I wasn't sure if I have to present this at the meeting next week, but I started it regardless. And it's, these are WHRC events. This is where to post. This is what to post. Here are some notes on how to, what to do after that kind of thing. But as I started typing and I realized I don't know all of the various channels that we have access to. I know we have a Facebook. I think we have an Instagram.
No,
We don't have an Instagram.
no,
Okay.
we talked about like, do we want to get one? And none of us are super Instagram savvy. So we said, maybe I'll wait until we get new members and see if that's something we want to take on. But yeah, we had a whole discussion about it, and we talked about, it's really funny because, not funny, but like the finance committee doesn't have a Facebook page or like,
Right.
All these other groups in town don't have it, but we do. So that's different than some other groups. But those groups don't put on events for the town and the public, right? So like, does it make sense? Like, what would they be,
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, no, those are operational
Yeah.
those are not, that's business and operations. This is quite different what we do. It's quite
This is
different.
community based.
Yeah, it's community based, and it's, like you said, it's events, and it's just, our mission is quite different. But But do you have, you said, so you were putting together sort of the communications plan. Is that what you were calling it, Kim?
Yeah, so what I did was it's more of a when we have these events, what's the protocol, right? So the way I have it bucketed right now, and I stopped because I realized I don't know what we have access to other than Facebook. So right now I only have Facebook done, but I posted like, if it's a WHRC owned event, this is how you post, this is where you post, and here's some notes on it. If it's a partner event, these are some ways that we can post and engage. If it's a town event, these are some ways we can post and engage. If it's just a, I called it just for fun, meaning like if it's just something that we're not necessarily tied to, but it's something we want to, acknowledge kind of thing. But right now I only had Facebook. So I was like, oh, you know what, let me wait until we have this call to figure out like, and maybe mine fills out after the meeting on Tuesday, like, because the three of us are not 100% sure how we post to the town or where else we can post or things like that, right?
Right. I mean, I think the vehicles that we do have right now are, we have the town website, which we don't have the authority or ability to edit ourselves, but we do have a contact that we send stuff to, and she's very
we
responsive.
submit. Yeah.
So we submit an edit, like, can you add this to our page? And she does it. So that's vehicle two. Like, Facebook's our primary vehicle, I would say. The town website is another, and then we have an email.
We have a website.
Well, our website is on the town website. Right?
Oh, it's a page. Okay, we have a web page.
Section of the town website.
Okay.
Now, and then that's not to say that there couldn't be, like, for example, the actual town's Facebook account just cross-promoted our MLK Day event, and they tagged us in it. So that's why I saw that it was out there.
I have a
question.
Even
the community group, like what access do we have to that? How kind are they? I think my part might need a little bit more feedback from the group as a whole.
Sure.
Well, maybe the feedback we want to ask them is, not only what is already in place, but what would we like to have in place, and what is possible of the things that we would like to have in place.
And what do we have that we're not using because we don't know how? Because I mean, I'll figure out, if I know what we could possibly, like you said, we have an email list, right? Like if I know from the group, well, we could do this, we have access to this community group is nice to us, this one is harsh on their posting rules. Like if I have an idea of like what maybe avenues are available to us that we haven't tapped yet, it might help me make more of like a solid plan. Right now, it's just kind of Facebook.
I have a question.
But I mean, emails and stuff are huge.
Yeah. Our page on the website, the town website, we have no control over that. We have to ask somebody to post on it.
Yeah, it's all done by the town's communication person. So, I mean, we have, I think, well, I don't know, I wouldn't say full authority. Like, I guess they could shoot us down if they don't agree with what we want to post. But she's been very responsive when we've asked to put something up or make a change or make an edit or change the layout or whatever. But it all done through her. And I don't think any other town committee or department has access to change their own. It all goes through.
This is very unusual because, I work with organizations and we give people administrative privileges for parts of a website that directly relate to what they do.
Yeah, it's like a portal that you log in, you put something in, and then they approve it, and then it goes live,
I'm talking about we give them administrative privileges to go on the site to those specific parts of the site only and work on them.
Right. Like, which would be awesome, if we could put things in. But the town doesn't
have that with us. Makes more work for them.
But at least if I know the process there, I mean, because again, I wonder if it's just a matter of, again, like who does what and when do we do these things. At least if I know kind of like what our channels are, I can probably lay out a pretty decent kind of plan for that.
So, I mean, I think because there's so many groups and pages and things, they just, I think it's unwieldy if you start to say like, okay, I'll give you access to this and you access to this, but your term ends in 1 year. So I got to only give you, I don't know.
Right.
But
But
anyway,
when you look at this list, you can see that there are certain, going back to that, there are certain certain committees, I don't know what you want to call them, organizations as part of the town that are very natural allies to us. And you can go down this list and it's really pretty obvious what those would be, like Albion Cultural Exchange, Commission on Disability, Status of Women. I don't even know if these groups are active. Council on Aging.
I didn't even
Go
know we
through
had
the list, and
status
human
of
rights,
women.
that's us.
Yeah.
There's
Youth
only a
council
few
is here.
here that are really, youth council, that are really related to our mission. So what we need
Which
to
would be
do
great to
is
know.
align with them.
Right, right.
Like,
Especially on social.
yeah, I mean,
What's nice, so to your point, Sherry, about like we can't do stuff in real time. What's nice is that the most central part of the website is our Facebook feed. So whatever we want, whatever is
fed.
real time, it appears right away. So even if it takes them another day to like get up, if we wanted to link to something else or like add this flyer here or something, it's already on the page, even if it's not like listed as a quick link or whatever we wanted to do. So
I have to sign up for that. I just realized the active bystander.
yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, I know, and
I saw that yesterday.
I'm trying to think of the dates that I know one date I can't.
One was one's a Thursday evening.
Yeah, I'm
one's
in a
a Saturday morning.
conference.
Yeah.
So Saturday, February 6th, I have to remind myself to do that. If
So
they
I
even
think
have
that
room
was
anymore.
my deliverable, and I have I only have one very small chunk. I definitely need more details.
Those up there. So I don't know if Maria must have sent this to Jen McDonald because this is already up there. I didn't request it.
Yeah, well, she must have because she's the one
yeah.
who arranged it.
Yeah. So so she added a new page, right, for us to explain these things, and then this probably links out to our Eventbrite page.
Now, you don't have to go to both of these. You can go to one or the other, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
because
if
I
you
know I
click
can't go on the 28th.
Can you see this whole thing? I don't even know what's sharing. Is it just this?
I'm looking at training
window?
active
Okay.
bystanders workshop.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's sharing like all my tabs or just one tab. So,
No, just that one.
okay.
Yeah.
I know. Usually in Zoom, I can just share my screen, like my whole desktop, but I didn't have that option, so I can only, which is fine. You don't need to see my whole desktop.
No, just.
But anyway, so I was just thinking if I click on this, you probably won't see it because I wouldn't be sharing like a separate. This is going to open in a new window, so it wouldn't
Okay,
work.
so there's another idea for us that we review. We go back to that list of other town, what would you call them? Organizations?
Boards and committees.
What are they?
This is
Yeah.
departments.
Boards and committees. Okay. Boards and committees, other town boards and committees that have like missions, and try to make sure that they're part of our promotional plan, our marketing plan, that we talk with them. Also that we plan with them, because we don't want to do things that are already in place. So like I'm thinking like, if we did something for 4th of July, it would make sense to do it. If we did that, it's a small world kind of thing, like to work with the cultural council, the youth council, because they have that ability to do that kind of thing.
There might even be small groups and organizations that aren't town affiliated that we should probably at least know about, student groups, support type.
Well, right. Like even there's like the Wakefield Neighborhood Association and the West Side Social Club and like all these, that they put on the Independence Day Committee. That's not on here because they're not
I don't
a town, they're body.
I don't see Wave on there either.
Yeah.
So that's something we should maybe.
That is a weird one.
And Wave is not on there.
Are they just a nonprofit?
They work independent of the town, so they don't have to go through what we go through or to do things.
I was thinking it would be under Alliance instead of W, but it's not there either.
No, it's not on there at all.
Because all of those groups and organizations, as well as like official town boards and committees and commissions, those are pages that we should like as the HRC page, because even showing support for something they're doing could just be as simple as a share, but if we don't even know who's out there. So having some kind of running list of any community group or,
Yep.
I mean, this is the most comprehensive list of community groups because it is, because who else keeps a list like that?
I bet you if we search that Wakefield community group on Facebook, it's got, people must post on there about their groups, their organizations, and
Well, like for
like
instance, we have the clergy council that we work with. The clergy council is not on here. That's and
Because
of
it's not a
course,
town.
yeah,
thing.
and of course, going through the different religious facilities, and that's a great way of getting the word out about everything because they meet regularly and they communicate with their congregants on a regular basis if they can't meet with them. I mean, the synagogue down the street from me has been locked up since March, and it's always so sad when I go by there. But they have, for safety, cannot open. But I'm sure they're in touch with their members. Okay.
Can you see the agenda?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could see the whole window.
Okay, so we've talked about the action item progress, and we don't know yet our means of collaborating on editing. I mean, I can send out to people a single calendar and say, give us some feedback, but we don't right now have that Google Sheets kind of thing. Or
no, we need permission.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I think so.
Why are they so strict about things like Google Sheets in terms of a tool for our sharing? I'm curious.
We just have to be transparent.
Let's add that to our questions because maybe Maria knows or somebody has more insight into whether or not that could go easily pass through.
So I think like we can share it with each other and say, here you go. But as long as we then talk about it and make it public, or like say, hey, what do you want me to add? Or like send me your list and I'll add it in. I think it's the collaboration behind closed door, but that's not public.
So we can use Google Sheets behind the scenes, but then we have to present to the public, you're saying?
I don't know. That's what I don't know.
But
clearly we're talking about our schedule here. So that's in public, right? People can go back and watch it. They technically could see the list that we come up with because that was on the video. So, and then I shared the calendar. I mean, I did it in a Google Doc, doc versus a sheet. But if we wanted to like combine the list that I came up with into that consolidated spreadsheet that you have with like causes, cultural, national, religious, HRC, things in town, like local things that we do, we could put that all in one sheet together. And I don't think we have to, we all worked on these things independently, but I don't think we couldn't say who wants to be the one to like combine all those things together. That's okay, I think.
Well,
but it's more like, hey, I went in and added these other 4 things that we didn't talk about, and I went and added those, and then that's sort of not transparent, right?
Right.
Well, I'm thinking that on that we talked about having different columns. One of the columns can be Wakefield events. We have add it in there and have everything all on one sheet. Yeah, and that's not a difficult thing for me to do. I can cut and paste the columns. That's easy. I
think it's more if we can as a group use it.
Like ongoing, can we just use that to like add to it, or does it have to be done in a meeting? Do we have to approve like, okay, Jen's gonna go in and add these 3 events that we talked about in our meeting to it afterwards,
So we're looking for a way to collaborate to get work done. And we need permission to find out how we can do that. Other than talking to each other like this. So what are we're looking for collaboration tools, permission.
I think so. And I think that's been an action item, right?
Yeah.
Right. It has. Just as we're looking for even, we're looking for more robust vehicles additional
Mhm.
and more robust vehicles for communicating.
And if they can, I'm sure this doesn't exist, but if it did, if the town has, you can use, if it's something that we have to submit, can we use Google Drive? Can we use Google Calendar? Can we use Dropbox? Can we use
Mm.
Canva
Oh, I
for,
haven't heard of that one.
design? Oh,
I haven't
Canva?
heard, no.
Why wouldn't we be able to use Canva?
Because it's a collaborative design tool. So if I
Oh,
create, say, a
never
flyer,
collaborated with it.
Hmm.
oh, it's the best.
Oh, I gotta look at this. Is it something
It's
you
the
have to
best.
purchase?
There's
Let's take
a
it out.
premium version and a regular version,
Hmm.
but I have a premium version. So like there, even just having something that if we create a standard design tool where if anybody needs to create like a banner really quickly, we're not trying to do it all on our own, something like that, they can go into Canva, find the banner template or the poster template or the flyer template that somebody creates. It's almost like coming up with just like a standard brand kit.
Sounds like it's like templates for branding.
Well, somebody would have to create them, but I mean,
Yeah.
it probably would save you guys a ton of time to have that kind of stuff, like a couple, 3 or 2 or 3 flyer templates that somebody could just go in, access, customize with whatever, or, again, maybe it's one person is in charge of that or.
Well, I'm happy to do things like that as long as I still have all of my software, which will end in December of 2022. So
Canva's free.
Canva's free, but I mean, I have the full Adobe suite of everything. So
I
I'm able
used
to
to,
do a
I
lot of
got
stuff.
rid of it.
I need it for my clients.
Oh, you do?
Constantly, InDesign, Illustrator, PageMaker. I use all of it constantly. Anyway, so here we have some things that we want the HRC really to address, and that is these are things that we've identified as needs to move forward. Collaboration tools. What
Mhm.
can we use? What's available? What will we allow to use? And what are some additional and more robust vehicles for communicating? And also just a more comprehensive list of who we should be communicating and collaborating with.
Mhm. And also what other what are some other places that we can, what's available to us in terms of promoting our events? Is
Well,
it just our own
that's what I mean by
Facebook?
vehicles.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Should be communicating. So we have identified as a team here some needs. And that's part of the outgrowth of this committee. I mean, we can put together all the calendars we want, but that doesn't really, all that is an exercise in gathering information. In order for us to go to the next step, we need these tools.
Mhm. And a process.
And a process, right?
Who's in charge of posting it to Facebook? Maybe simplifying that a little bit. Who's in charge of sending it to the town? Who's in charge of posting it to the community groups? Even maybe just having that kind of a standardized process, which I know is tough because my term's up in April and, but I think it would help.
Oh, you have a short term. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have a full one, so I'm going to be around for a little bit. But
So it's
the thing is,
you. Congratulations.
the personnel, yeah. Well, the personnel
Oh.
changes. So we
Right.
have people with different abilities at different times. So I think that a place to really go in some ways is to have greater communication and cooperation with maybe the students, because they tend to be able to do all of this stuff.
Can we get some interns? Are you guys allowed to take interns?
There's nothing.
There's not like an official thing. Like they can't be like a voting member, but there's nothing to say we can't have volunteers. I mean,
Yeah, they're volunteers.
Doesn't have to be a student. It could be extra volunteers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how great would that be if you're a high school student that is part of either the vocational school or the high school or whatever schools AV club, to be able to do video or to take pictures or, you know, graphic design and the art or something like that, you know?
So people, volunteers with special skills. Well, like Yana, her artwork, which is now displayed in places around town, the ones that I could get into. Um, and it's going to be displayed in the schools. And I haven't seen it yet in the kiosk, but then I didn't walk along the lake this week.
How great is that for an experience for a student who is going to be applying for college, or, you know, or for somebody who just wants to be involved but doesn't have the full capacity to be able to, you know, but they take great pictures or they're really good at graphic design or something like that. Whereas the student thing, I think, could be, and again, I hate to keep throwing things on your schedule and then being like, well, I'm done in April, because it's possible I might not be brought back, but
I'm done in April too. I mean, my term is up in April too, so I'm in the same place.
there's just, you know, I'm thinking about like all the different, you know, departments at the high school, and these kids are going to be going into college. And, you know, I can speak for college students graduating right now, the ones that don't have a lot on their resume and don't have portfolios where they could start building it now. I don't know, just an idea.
Well, we certainly have the cable.
High school.
Cable is certainly there for us. WC.
And that's out of the high school too,
Right,
right?
exactly. Because, and the thing is, no matter what we do, there is not going to be continuity because we change all the time.
But there could be. So if you created a brand guide, and I'm sure, Sherry, you've probably done this for a ton of your clients, you have a brand guide that you follow. Right. Mm-hmm. These are the colors. This is what our overall look and feel looks like. These are what kind of images we share. This is what our graphics look like. You know, maybe at some point that should be created, that can be passed on from committee to committee members, you know, whether it's our committee, that the next people that become part of our committee, or the commission as a whole kind of runs by.
Well, that was why we did the orientation, Jen and I, something that we did it in the way we did, so it could be evolve and continue and be passed along. But I was thinking more in terms of the active skills rather than the supportive materials. When I said about, you know, where there's no continuity. So like, for instance, if the next group of people, there's no one in that group that has X skill any longer.
Right.
You know, what do we do? And it just, so there are certain, that's why we have to be very realistic about what we can do and not do.
Right.
But it would be great if we had some sort of alliance with the technical departments at the high school and vocational technology, Voc Tech, so that there could be a revolving maybe group of students who have those special skills that we could work with.
And that could be part of that whole outreach, like you said, of what are the other groups? What are the other committees? Who are the other people that would be great for us to kind of have as allies and friends?
So, okay. So anyway, we have to sort of.
I know, I'm sorry.
Here. No, we have to figure out what
you shouldn't have added me to this committee. I'll talk all night about marketing.
No. Jen, let's go back to our agenda so we know what we're supposed to have come out of this meeting with. We shared.
Yep.
We shared what we've done so far.
We didn't update what we've done. We said we would collaborate on edits, which we gave reactions to. We didn't really collaborate necessarily on big changes, but we did talk about what we have and how to maybe lay it out a little differently. And then we just said plan for a report out to the full commission.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, I think, what we need to try to do in the next 8 minutes ish. We don't have to end.
I know that, like with the, this was so close before the next meeting, but in the future, our report out should really just be a written report out. It's just talking about things, just it's need to know stuff, but not necessarily actionable. But I think that those needs that we identified, we should definitely share those, and say that after doing we've done our initial work, we've started, but what we've discovered is that we are lacking certain things that we really need in order to bring this to full fruition. I mean, we can put a calendar up, but we have no way of collaborating on in a communication collaborations on an input. We don't have we don't have all the vehicles we need for real full and robust communication. And we don't at present, and we need more input from people on the WHRC, is a comprehensive list of who we should be communicating and collaborating with. Plus, we're not entirely clear with what we have on what the process is. I mean, you, Jen, put together, at least for meeting minutes. And then the other day, I was doing something with Maria. I'm trying to remember what it was. It had to do with the messaging campaign. And she said, oh, I should really make that something that goes into our manual as well. So there's always things like the branding, things that we can put together that carry over. So that's one of the things we're learning from this committee is, and anytime you have a new person come on board, we're learning the things that really need to be carried over, that we have to do a better job of. But without the storage, the collaboration tools and things like that, it's very hard to do. It's just, we take notes, we talk about it, and the minutes sit on the website, and it's not actionable. So what do we want to do before I can briefly say to the board, to the whole commission, that we've met twice and we divided up tasks. And on our second meeting, we reported out our progress on these different tasks, but we also realized we couldn't go any further because we have certain needs. And then see what they have to say. And I'll tell them what we identified as the needs. They'll go into the minutes.
Right.
I said, we have lots of ideas. We have lots of wonderful creative ideas, but we don't have the tools.
So why don't we submit to Maria to add to the agenda?
She can't, it's too late.
Oh, I thought it was today.
It was last night.
Oh, it was last? I thought it was Thursday. Oh my gosh,
it's already
days
done.
So
the business day is over, so it's already done.
Looks like the agenda is already out. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's uploaded to the webpage. Although I think, didn't we? Well, maybe I thought that we had just like a placeholder topic that
share documents on, like we can share a sample of what we put together.
We have a communication. No, we have a communication subcommittee update. That's what we're going to update on. So that's a line item in the agenda. It's very basic, but our update is whatever we want it to be.
Yes. So then we can
just talk about what you just said, Sherry, all those things. Yeah.
And the thing is, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. We have much more work to do. We've only met twice. And if anything, we're finding more unknowns than knowns at this point. So, and maybe we can get some clarity on some of this while we're, from other people during that meeting. Like we said, we see a list of boards and committees on the town website, but there are ones that are not represented there that we perhaps should be aware of in terms of developing our communication plan, and we want input.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I think that's great.
Okay. So
I think keep it high level, and when we bring it up, people will hopefully say, oh, that sounds great. I know this, and then maybe it'll lead to a discussion. Okay, well, we all know we need it. How do we do it?
Yeah. And especially things like, we don't even have a way, because we don't have a collaboration tool, a way to share what we have that we're allowed to do. I mean, we as a committee share stuff together, our working documents, but it would be, you see my husband in the background walking around.
I mean, we've shared stuff via email before, so I guess we got to think about.
We do share one-on-one, but I'm talking about as a group as a whole.
Right. Like if somebody has an idea, where do they, how can they send it to us? Right. Or is there a way that they could just add it to a calendar for pending review or something like that?
Yeah, I think we really have to press for some permission to use some of these collaboration tools. I really think would help all of the different groups work all of the different subcommittees and the different event committees, it would help them if they had collaboration tools, not just the.
I mean, I think
commission
typically
as
in
a
the
whole.
past, what's happened with stuff like that is like send your feedback to so-and-so, they will consolidate it and then present, in the next meeting, whether it's the subcommittee or the other thing, they'll say, here's the feedback we got. Is everyone okay with these changes or whatever? And so it's a older way of doing business, assuming that everyone is in person and only doing that business in those meetings, right?
Right.
And
It's very clunky. It's a very
different reality.
clunky,
Yeah.
and you don't get as much done.
No, it's harder to get the stuff done in between, and that's why I think we did what we did, right? Like you go work on that, and then we'll come back together and talk about it and share it. But once you're at that point, we're like, okay, great. Now we just want to merge all this stuff. We can't be like sharing docs and like, because I think it's not so much a problem that we're sharing a document with each other. It's like if you were going in and editing it, and then maybe like you make that change and I can make a comment on Google Docs to say, oh, I don't like that. What do you think about moving that? Now we're deliberating,
Collaborating.
and that's
Right.
I will say that I gave Maria our minutes from the last meeting to share because I had it in advance. So they know what we had intended. And so this will truly be an update because we had another. And so, and I can refer to what was in the minutes, and because I did give them that one page. And I'll pull this together, and of course I have to send it to you to get approval before I can even send it on to the town to get posted, before I can even send it to Maria to share with the others. So it's.
Yeah. And I think, that's another thing that I did create, and I think I shared it with you all, was the process for posting agendas and minutes. I tried to take
right
email that Sherry Dalton had sent us, and I reformatted it a little bit so it was pretty with step-by-step instructions. So I didn't expect you to go in and make edits or comments on that. We could talk about that quickly. I imagine this would be one of those resources we'd put in in our repository and add that to the list of things like in our orientation when we say here's your resources. Well, there's a how-to guide on how to post an agenda, how to request a meeting, post the agenda, publish the meeting minutes is a separate set in there. So typically I think, we get the, commission meeting to review it, discuss changes, vote on them. I don't know if we have to vote on subcommittee minutes. I mean, I told you separately, like I had no changes. They looked great. And Kim, I think, did too.
Actually,
so
I
need to vote on that?
Before the committee minutes are posted, I do have to have people look at them. I'm supposed to have you. That's why I did that. I asked you,
Right.
What do you think?
But we don't have to vote.
So
you don't have to vote.
Like,
you just have to give your input before it goes on, because our names are all on it as having participated, and it's just a matter of making sure they're accurate.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. So we did that, but I'm asking, according to the list, I think within our bigger meetings, we all vote to accept the minutes. I don't know if we need to do that with subcommittee minutes.
Oh, no, we don't have to vote. I mean, we ask for input, and then the person who took the minutes can then, once they incorporate the input, could pass it on. But for the greater HRC, there has to be a vote because there's so many of us. I don't think, like the MLK Day subcommittee aren't going through votes on the minutes. They're just making sure they're accurate and then posting them after. Because I do this even with my boards. I like to have like the secretary, because the secretary doesn't have to take any minutes because I'm around. I like the secretary to look it over just in case I miss something or misheard something. But that's another topic of discussion.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, so I'll be very happy to do that little report out for us.
Great.
And I'll refer to the minutes that we prepared and what has happened now in our second meeting and what we need from them to move forward.
Okay.
Great.
And that should take care. And then we will keep going. We'll keep planning. And once we get the information we need, we certainly can do more than we've done. I mean, my part is probably, it takes time, but it's not a complicated thing. I mean, you can do that, but then what do we do with it? The problem is, I'll do that, then what will we do with it? We'll have this wonderful reference guide, but what do we do with it? So, okay. So the question, are we going to meet? We need to meet again after that meeting, sometime in February. Preferably not during the third week of the month because there's too much
Yeah,
stuff
third
going
week is
on.
too hard for me.
Yeah, and I don't know, if we need to try to meet again? I don't, before the next HRC meeting, because what do you think?
Before Tuesday?
No, before the one that comes up on February 17th.
It's not a bad, I mean, even if we don't need to do maybe these full hours, but it might be good for us to just quick catch up and maybe after Tuesday's meeting and just say, okay, well, what did we take away from that? And how do we turn what we took away from that
Okay.
into action items for the next one? You know, just a quick catch up.
Okay. So what does your
Need to
calendar look
schedule
like?
that, though.
I mean, I'm fairly open. Suffolk starts again on the 26th for me. And the only night that I have classes is Tuesdays from 4:30 till about 6:15. So any other day other than a Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
works for me.
I have to tell you, this 5 o'clock is really tough for me, as long as I'm still working full time, because I had to like literally stop all the work I was doing and cut it short. So if we could meet just a little bit later than this is like really tough for me to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly open. My thing is I get up at 4, so right around like the
Oh,
yeah. So I start to
Oh my
get pretty
gosh.
like sleepy. So I want to make sure my attention's full. But you know, if you guys need to do 7 o'clock or whatever, that's fine.
yeah. So which nights are you available? I'm looking at, or which early evenings are you available? I'm good the whole first week of February. I have lots of flexibility.
I'm
Yeah,
good,
I am too.
except Wednesday night and Thursday night. I have things, but they're not until, well,
You don't want to double up though. You
no.
have enough stuff
Well,
going
it's
on.
like Wednesday
Family
night,
and
Tom has his gas and light board meeting, which means I've got the kids, so
Mhm.
it's not my meeting, but and
Yeah.
then I've got something Thursday evening. So
What
Monday
about
or
Monday?
Tuesday.
Is that too soon?
First?
Is that too? I guess that's not too soon.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do either the first or the second, and you can't do the second because that's a Tuesday, right?
I just it has to be for Tuesdays. It would have to be like around the 7 o'clock time.
Okay, so why don't we do Monday? Because that way we can do a 5:30 at night kind of thing, which is
Whatever
early.
works for you
Does
guys.
that work for
I can
you,
do
Jen? Because you
5:30
have
on
the
Monday.
kids. You have
Yeah,
the
I
kids.
can do 5. I mean, that is usually fine if like Tom and I are, if we're tag teaming, and especially if we think it's only going to be a short, like 30-minute, 45-minute check-in, he could be getting dinner ready and or
We
whatever.
will make a point of that, making it a short one.
Yeah.
Jen, do you want to put in with Sherry
I can
Dalton
do that
again?
again. Yeah. So let's think about: is our agenda basically the same as this?
Well, we can make it after Tuesday's meeting when we kind of get feedback on everything, and then
Okay, and that's one
Right.
thing we can email on is like logistics and meeting and stuff. So
Mhm.
I think, and that'll all be public anyway because we'll post the agenda out. So I don't think that's a problem to
And you don't have to
connect
have
with each
3 or
other.
4 agenda items. You can have
Oh,
one
I
agenda
know.
item
Just
Right.
yeah,
that just says,
continue to work on our calendar.
continue to work on our
plan.
individual plan, our plan. To work collaboratively on our individual plan. That's it. That we don't have to do many more than that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have
okay.
it
So we said 5:30
5:30
on
Monday,
Monday.
February 1.
Okay.
And, I hope starting March, I will have flexibility in the late afternoon, but that client that I'm moving out, so far, I don't, they have to just start interviewing now because they couldn't do it during Christmas. And they took proposals through December 15th. So they're probably, as far as I know, they're interviewing now. So I'm still doing all the work for them. But I'm hoping and then I have to clean out the office and pack it up and hope they're going to have to send someone over to get everything. Anyhow, okay. So first of the month. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week and I'll do our brief reporting out and ask for help.
Okay. And I will Sherry, I since you sent me that, you sent us the spreadsheet, I started doing that consolidation of moving things all into one slide. So I don't want you to redo that work. So I will send this out in the next, by tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So well, I can't even go near any work for WHRC through probably Tuesday night next week. I
Okay.
have
Well, then we're
that
good.
much going on.
I just wanted to
But
make
it
sure,
worked
you know,
out.
I feel like
Yeah.
you're doing all the minutes, you're doing all the stuff. I'm pretty quick with
Great.
Excel, so I can just, you know, it's nothing fancy, but it's basically just taking your 4 tabs and moving it into like one
Into a
consolidated.
single sheet, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, we're collaborating. Great. Okay. Yeah. And I'll make some sense of my notes. They're a little neater than the last time, so I should
Yeah, and
be
then,
able to
you know,
follow
once I
through
send it
better.
back to you, if you want to continue to add, because you said you still had some more to add, then you can use, you know, use that version to keep adding so that,
Yeah.
and what I started, Sherry, is I left your 4 tabs as they are, and I just created like a 4th tab called consolidated. So I'm not, you know, if you find it easier to just focus on one topic first and then add it in later, you can still
No,
use
if
that
the
process.
structure is there, you know, I will just put it on the master.
Right.
But like I said, I'm not going to be doing any research now for several days because I have a couple of things that I have got to finish, and they have to
Okay.
be done. They should have been done already today, but other things came up as usual, you know, people pulling and tugging at you, wanting you to help them with things that they can't figure out how to do for themselves. So
All right.
I'll have a lot less of that soon. Okay, excellent.
We'll see you at the main meeting next week.
That's right.
Yes.
Next week then. Everyone
Okay.
be well, stay healthy.
You too.
Okay.
You
Oh,
too.
did you know that Maria's family was quarantined for COVID?
That
I'm sorry.
No, I feel like that's stuff we shouldn't be saying on a public.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Okay.
They're well now, but everyone else stay well.
Okay.
Okay. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.